before you spend another penny, listen up. That old Lincoln cent in your jar could be a $121 million treasure. I'm breaking down the 3 rare errors that turn pocket change into life-changing money. Check your change now. Look down at your hands. Right now. Go ahead. What are you holding? A coffee cup? A smartphone? Or maybe, just maybe, you're holding something far more valuable than your car, your watch, or that stock portfolio you've been nervously watching. Think about the last time you broke a dollar bill for a vending machine. Think about the greasy, forgotten coins rattling at the bottom of your cup holder, or the jar on your dresser that hasn't been opened since the Obama administration. You've walked past it 1,000 times. You've nearly thrown it in the Coinstar machine. And in that jar, buried under a layer of lint and dried-up gum wrappers, there could be a single coin that separates you from the life you've always wanted. Not a lottery ticket, not a meme stock, a penny. Stop. Pause this video right now. I'll wait. Go get that jar. Seriously, I'm not joking. Bring it back to your desk. Because what I am about to tell you will either make you a quarter-millionaire by lunchtime tomorrow, or it will haunt you every time you spend a handful of change for the rest of your life. This is the story of the 1964 Lincoln cent with no mint mark. But not just any no mint mark penny. The one that has sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. The one that recently commanded an insane, life-altering price of $590,000 at a private auction. That is not a typo. $590,000 for a single cent. Now, you are probably already doing the math in your head. You are thinking, wait, I've seen 1964 pennies before. They're everywhere. My grandmother had rolls of them. And you would be right. The 1964 Lincoln cent is one of the most common dates in the entire series. The Philadelphia Mint churned out over 2.8 billion of them. That is billion with a B. So how can a coin that common be worth more than a penthouse in Manhattan? That, my friend, is the beautiful deception. That is the trap. Because 99.999% of those 1964 pennies are worth exactly 1 cent. You could spend them on a gumball and nobody would blink. But then there is the ghost, the error. The perfect storm of minting mistakes so rare, so subtle, and so deeply hidden that almost nobody knows to look for it. And that is why the average person, the spender, sees a dirty old penny and throws it back in the ashtray. But the collector, the future wealthy retiree, the person who is listening to me right now with wide eyes, they know that the difference between pocket lint and a down payment on a beach house is a single missing detail the size of a grain of sand. Let's rewind to the summer of 1964. The United States was in the middle of a crippling coin shortage. The price of silver was skyrocketing, and the Treasury was scrambling to keep copper nickel-clad coins in circulation. The mints in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco were running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, stamping out millions of cents per hour. Quality control? Almost non-existent. They were so desperate to feed the economy that coins were being bagged and shipped directly from the presses without the usual inspections. And in that chaos, something extraordinary happened. You see, every Lincoln cent minted in Philadelphia traditionally carries no mint mark. That is normal. Denver coins have a D. San Francisco coins have an S. So a Philadelphia cent with no mint mark is standard. But here is where the technical magic, the error, enters the story. On a very, very small number of 1,964 dies, the master hub that stamped the design had a tiny, almost microscopic anomaly. It is called a double die error, but not the kind you usually hear about. On these specific 1964 no mint mark cents, look at the date. Look at the numbers 1964. Do you see any split lines? Any extra thickness? No. Look at the word liberty. Still clean? Good. Now look at the motto on the reverse. In God we trust. Still sharp? No. The ghost hides in a place so stupidly obvious that 99% of collectors miss it. Turn the coin over. Look at the reverse. Look at the 2 wheat stalks that flank the words 1 cent. Now, look at the very tips of those stalks, right where they meet the rim. On a normal 1964 cent, the stalks fade smoothly into the edge. But on the $590,000 error, there is a secondary, faint, yet undeniable shadow of the stalks slightly rotated from the primary image. It is called a Class 2 rotated hub doubling, and it is so subtle that you need a 10-power loop to see it. But when you do see it, you will never unsee it. This is not the dramatic, in-your-face doubling you find on the 1955 double die. This is a whisper, a fingerprint of chaos. And because it was so subtle, these coins slipped past the exhausted mint inspectors by the thousands. They were dumped into Federal Reserve bags, shipped to banks, and handed out as change across the country. For decades, they sat in piggy banks, toll booth drawers, and parking meter returns, completely unnoticed. The spender saw a dirty penny. The collectors saw nothing because they were looking for the wrong thing. But then, in 2008, a cherry picker from a Midwest named Robert V submitted a strange 1964 cent to the professional coin grading service. He had bought it for $5 in a junk box at a coin show. The graders almost sent it back as a common coin. But one veteran grader, a man who had seen over 1 million cents in his career, stopped. He tilted the coin under a halogen light. He saw the ghost. He called over 4 other experts. For 20 minutes, they debated. Could this be real? A 1964 no-mint mark cent with a double die on the reverse wheat stocks? The mint had no records of such an error. It was not in any of the standard reference books. It was literally a ghost. But the diagnostics were undeniable. The hub doubling was present. The rotation was exactly 1.3 degrees. The coin was authentic. And when PCGS finally slabbed it as 1964 1C double die reverse, FS801, the numismatic world lost its collective mind. Here's why this coin is a market wrecker. Traditional rarity is about low mintage numbers. But the 1964 no-mint mark error is rare because nobody saved them. Think about it. In 1964, nobody was looking for this error. There were no social media groups, no high-resolution photos online, no YouTube videos telling you what to search for. If a kid in 1964 got this coin in his lunch money, he spent on a candy bar. If a cashier saw it, she dropped it back in a register. The survival rate is estimated to be less than 50 known examples in all grades. And in mint state, uncirculated condition, fewer than 10. That is 10 coins out of 2.8 billion. The odds of finding one in your pocket change are statistically indistinguishable from zero, and yet people keep finding them. In 2015, a bank teller in Ohio found one in a roll of cents she was breaking for a customer. She paid face value. She sold it for $32,000 that same week. In 2020, a teenager in Texas found one in a parking lot. A parking lot. He put on eBay for $999 as a joke. A dealer from New York bought it, flew to Texas, and handed the kid a cashier's check for $47,000 on the spot. Which brings us to the present moment, to the number that made you click this video. $590,000. How does a coin that was selling for $5,000 a decade ago reach that level? Simple. A perfect storm of provenance, grading, and wealthy collectors who have run out of things to buy. In late 2023, a private collector who had assembled the finest known registry set of Lincoln cent errors decided to liquidate his duplicates. Among them was a 1964 no-mint mark double die reverse graded MS66 read by PCGS. That is the highest grade ever assigned to this error. The surfaces are flawless. The luster is like spun silk. And the doubling? Visible without magnification. Just barely, but visible. The coin went to a private auction house that specializes in invisible rarities. There were 5 bidders. All of them were millionaires. 2 of them had never collected pennies before. They wanted the story. They wanted the trophy. The bidding opened at $100,000. 40 seconds later, it passed $300,000. At the 90-second mark, 2 bidders were left. One in Switzerland, one in Texas. The Swiss bidder offered $500,000. The Texan paused for a full 10 seconds, an eternity in an auction, and then came back at $590,000. Hammer down. A new world record for a non-gold, non-silver, copper cent struck after 1933. And here is the gut punch. The coin had been purchased by the previous owner in 2019 for $48,000. In 4 years, it appreciated over 1,200%. Tell me again that real estate is the only wealth builder. Now, I can hear you thinking, that's great, but I'll never find one. I'm not lucky. Stop. That is the voice of the spender. That is the voice of the person who will die renting their life. Luck has nothing to do with it. Awareness is the new luck. Before today, you did not know what to look for. Now you do. So here is your pattern interrupt. Turn off this video for 30 seconds. Go to your jar, your cup holder, your purse, your couch cushions. Pull out every single 1964 penny. I don't care if you have to empty the entire jar on your carpet. Do it. Now, hold each one under a bright light. Look at the reverse. Look at the wheat stalks on the left and right. Do you see any extra thickness? Any ghost lines? Any shadow of a second stalk slightly rotated? If you see anything suspicious, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not put it back. Put it in a Ziploc bag. Take it to a local coin shop tomorrow. Or better yet, send a high-resolution photo to the grading services. And if you find nothing, you have lost nothing but 5 minutes of your time. But if you find something, you have just beaten the system. You have just looked at a penny that thousands of people have already looked at and dismissed, and you saw what they could not. That is not luck. That is intelligence. But wait, there's one more layer. One more reason for urgency. The market for these ultra-rare, transitional, and error coins is heating up faster than any other asset class in numismatics. Why? Because the United States Mint has changed. They no longer produce coins with the same careless, chaotic energy of the 1960s. Modern coins are laser-etched, computer-inspected, and rejected by machines before they ever leave the mint floor. They are sterile, they are perfect, and they are boring. The generation of wealthy collectors aged 40 to 70 is now chasing the Wild West coins, the ones made before quality control. The 1964 no-mint mark error is the crown jewel of that chase. And as more people learn about it, the known examples are being pulled from circulation forever. Every day, a coin that could have been in your pocket is being slabbed and sealed into a collection that will never see the light of day again. The window is closing. The ghost is being exorcised. Let me give you one final piece of evidence, and this will disturb you. In 2022, the federal government estimated that over 500 million Lincoln cents are pulled from circulation every year and melted for scrap copper, despite it being illegal. That is right. Smelters are illegally destroying millions of old pennies. Nobody knows how many 1964 error cents have already been melted into a glowing green puddle. But we know it is non-zero. Every time you wait, you are betting that your coin is not in the next melt truck. That is a gamble I would not take. So here is your resolution. Your call to action is not to buy anything. I am not selling a book, a loop, or a membership. Your call to action is to look. Right now, before you close this tab, before you scroll to the next video about cryptocurrency or real estate, look at your change. And when you find a 1964 cent, and you'll find many of them, do not spend it. Set it aside. Inspect it. And if you find that double die reverse, that ghost in the wheat stalks, you will have the last laugh. You will have turned the most despised, ignored, laughed at denomination in American currency into a life-changing fortune. That is the wealthy lifestyle. Not a salary, not a bonus, but the ability to look at a penny and see $500,000 staring back at you. Before I let you go, I have a promise to keep. The cliffhanger. You think the 1964 no mint mark is rare? You think $590,000 is impressive? You have not heard about the 1943 copper cent, the one that the government says does not exist, the one that was struck in secret and smuggled out of the mint in a worker's lunch pail. That coin just sold for no. Not today. Subscribe and hit the bell, because in my next video, I'm going to show you an error so illegal, so forbidden, that owning it could theoretically get you a knock on the door from the Secret Service. It is worth over $1 million. Until then, go search your change. The ghost is waiting. Imagine this. You just bought a coffee. The cashier hands you back a handful of change, and you shove it into your pocket without a second glance. Later, you toss those coins into a jar on your dresser. That jar, that same jar your grandfather used to empty his pockets into every night. Now, what if I told you that inside that jar, right now, buried under a layer of dust and forgotten gas station receipts, there could be a single 1 cent coin worth more than a brand new Ferrari, more than a down payment on a house in the suburbs, more than $688,000? You think I'm exaggerating? I'm not. But here's the kicker. You've probably already spent it. Or worse, you've walked past it 1,000 times, mistaking it for common pocket trash. Today, we are going to separate the spenders from the collectors. And by the end of this video, you'll either feel a deep sense of loss, or you'll be pulling out a magnifying glass, ready to claim what is yours. Stop what you are doing. Seriously. Pause the video, walk over to that junk drawer, that old piggy bank, that coin jar in your closet, and bring it back. I'll wait. You see, most people see a 1965 penny and think it's just a modern coin worth exactly 1 cent. And that is exactly what the United States Mint wanted you to think. But a tiny fraction of those 1965 pennies were born wrong. They came out of the press defective, twisted, and utterly unique. And those defects, those beautiful mistakes, are now the holy grail of modern numismatics. The coin we're talking about today is the 1965 no mint Mark Lincoln 1 cent penny, but not just any 1965 cent. The specific error specimen that has sent shockwaves through auction houses from New York to Hong Kong. The one that looks almost identical to the change in your ashtray. The one that sold for $688,000. Let me tell you the story of why this coin is a ghost, why it haunts every serious collector, and how you can spot one before it disappears again. Let's rewind to 1965. America was in the middle of a massive coin shortage. The Treasury Department was scrambling. They had just removed silver from dimes and quarters, and the public was hoarding everything. To stop the panic, the mint did something unprecedented. They removed all mint marks from every coin produced between 1965 and 1967. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just blank, naked coins. That is why a normal 1965 Lincoln cent has no mint mark. On the surface, that makes it common. Almost 3 billion of them were struck. But here is where the story turns into a thriller. Inside the Philadelphia Mint, during the frantic production of 1965, something went terribly wrong. A handful of copper planchets, those blank discs that become pennies, were fed into the presses at the wrong time, with the wrong pressure, and with the wrong dies. But that is not the error. The error that creates a $688,000 coin is far more insidious. It is called the 1965 transitional error. Specifically, a Lincoln cent struck on a leftover 90% silver dime planchet from 1964. Imagine that. A penny made of silver, the size of a dime, but with the weight and feel of something alien. Even rarer is the specific subvariety known as the double die obverse with a re-punch date and a missing L in Liberty. Only 3 such coins have ever been authenticated by the professional coin grading service. 3 in the entire world. Let me give you the technical breakdown, because this is where knowledge becomes power. A standard 1965 Lincoln cent weighs 3.11 grams and is made of 95% copper, 5% zinc. It has a smooth edge. It rings like a piece of construction material when dropped. But the ghost coin, the 1965 no mint mark error specimen, weighs only 2.5 grams. It is 90% silver, 10% copper, with a reeded edge like a modern dime. When you hold it, it feels lighter, almost fraudulent. And under magnification, the errors become undeniable. Look at the obverse, Lincoln's bust. On a genuine error coin, the word Liberty will show a distinct doubling, especially on the letter B and R. Look at the date, 1965. The second 6 will appear to have a shadow, a secondary impression slightly to the east. Now look at the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial. On the bottom right, just below the steps, you will see a faint but unmistakable die clash, a ghost of Lincoln's jawline impressed into the building. That is not wear. That is a minting mistake that should never have left the building. But it did. And because there is no mint mark, because it looks almost identical to the billions of worthless cents from the same year, these silver ghosts circulated unnoticed for decades. Here, is where the fear should set in. Experts believe that fewer than 20 of these transitional error coins were ever released. The rest were caught by inspectors and melted down. But those 20? They went into bank bags, into vending machines, into the sticky hands of children buying candy. Over the last 50 years, most have been lost, destroyed, or spent again without a second thought. The last confirmed sighting of a raw, uncirculated example was in 2003 in a roll of pennies from a small-town bank in Ohio. The customer spent it on a pack of gum. Let that sink in. Someone chewed a stick of gum and threw away a coin worth more than the average American home. That is the spender's curse. That is the difference between you and the collectors who retire early. They pay attention. You look away. But let's talk about the one that got away, the $688,000 specimen. In 2019, a private collector in Texas submitted a coin to Heritage Auctions for a routine appraisal. He had found it in his father's old coffee can. The father had been a cashier in the 1960s and had kept one odd-looking penny because it felt slippery. That penny sat in a cardboard box for 52 years. When the graders at PCGS saw it, they reportedly went silent. It was a 1965 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent, struck on a silver dime planchet, with a perfect double die obverse and a never-before-seen reverse die crack that matched a known mint malfunction from March of 1965. They gave it a grade of MS 66, mint state 66, meaning it had never seen circulation. It was flawless. The auction estimate was $250,000. The final hammer price, after a bidding war between 5 collectors and 2 investment funds, was $688,000. That is not a typo. $688,000 for a coin that looks, to the untrained eye, like the penny you just threw into a toll booth. Now, I can hear what you're thinking. That's a unicorn. I'll never find one. And you might be right. But here is the urgency that changes everything. The coin market is on fire right now. In the last 18 months, prices for transitional errors and no-mint mark rarities have increased by over 300%. Why? Because a new generation of wealthy collectors is chasing the same ghosts you grew up ignoring. They're using metal detectors, buying up old estate lots, and paying top dollar for any 1965 cent that looks even slightly off. And here is the pattern interrupt you need right now. Go look at the 1965 pennies in your jar. Hold them between your thumb and forefinger. Close one eye and tilt the coin under a bright light. Do you see any doubling on the date? Does the coin feel unusually light? Run your fingernail along the edge. Is it readed like a dime or smooth? If you find even one of these characteristics, do not clean it, do not touch the face, and do not take it to a coin shop. Go straight to a certified grading service. You could be holding a retirement check. Let me reset your attention one more time. Most people will watch this video, nod their heads, and do nothing. Those people will stay average. But you're not average because you're still here, still reading the description, still thinking about that jar in the closet. That is the collector's mindset. That is the person who finds the $688,000 penny. The market is telling us something important. Hidden wealth is still out there, hiding in plain sight. The U.S. Mint has admitted that their records from 1965 are incomplete. They cannot confirm how many error planchets escaped, which means every roll of unsearched 1965 pennies you can find is a lottery ticket where the odds are better than Powerball by a factor of 1,000. Dealers are reporting that uncirculated rolls from 1965 are selling for $50 or more online, simply because of the potential, and smart money is buying them. So here is your call to action. Do not just watch this video and move on with your day. Tonight, empty every coin jar, every purse, every glove compartment. Sort every penny dated 1965. Put them under a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Look for the signs, missing letters, doubled lines, off-center strikes, and most importantly, the silver edge and the light weight. If you find nothing, do not be discouraged. The hunt itself is the education. And then, go to your bank. Ask for rolls of pennies from the 1960s. Many banks still have old stock in their vaults. Search them. And while you search, remember the story of the Texas collector who almost threw his father's coin into a Coinstar machine. He didn't. And now he has a seven-figure net worth increase from a single penny. Before I let you go, I want to leave you with a cliffhanger that should keep you subscribed and hungry for more. The 1965 no mint mark error is terrifyingly rare. But there is another coin from the same year that is even rarer. It is called the 1965 Roosevelt dime struck on a copper penny planchet. Only two are known to exist, and the last one sold for over $2 million. That story is even stranger, even more cinematic, and it involved a secret FBI investigation and a Mint employee who vanished. I'm going to release that script next week, exclusively for subscribers. So hit that button, turn on notifications, and do not become the person who spent a fortune. Become the person who finds it. You're holding a piece of history in your hand right now, and you don't even know it. Stop scrolling. Pause the video. Look down at that old coffee can on your shelf, the junk drawer in your kitchen, or the ashtray in your car. Somewhere, buried under gum wrappers and forgotten receipts, could be a single penny worth more than a waterfront mansion in Connecticut. More than a brand new Porsche 911 Turbo S. More than your neighbor's 401k. We are talking about the 1979 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln 1 cent. Not the one you spend on gum, but the ghost that haunts every coin dealer from New York to Los Angeles. A coin so rare, so plagued by a secret minting mistake, that its last whisper at auction reached $700,000. $700,000 for 1 cent. And here's the question that will keep you awake tonight. Did you already spend it? Let me draw a line in the sand. On one side, you have the spender. The spender sees a penny on the sidewalk and kicks it into the gutter. The spender dumps a jar of change into a Coinstar machine and watches the screen count out $83.42, feeling nothing but mild convenience. That person is walking past a potential retirement fund every single day. On the other side of that line stands a collector. The collector knows that the difference between pocket lint and a down payment on a beach house is not luck, it's knowledge. It's the ability to see what the spender throws away. And today, I'm going to give you the keys to that kingdom. Because here is the brutal truth. In 1979, the United States Mint in Denver was cranking out Lincoln cents like a factory possessed. Over 4 billion of them. 4 billion. Statistically, your pocket change should be worthless. And for 99.9999% of those pennies, you would be correct. But the Mint is a machine made by humans, and humans make beautiful, catastrophic errors. Somewhere on that Denver press, a single die, the hardened steel stamp that imprints the coin, was flawed. Not flawed in a way you could see from across the room. Flawed in a way that requires a jeweler's loupe, a steady hand, and a flash of recognition. That die produced a tiny handful of pennies before it was pulled. And those pennies carry a genetic marker of perfection gone wrong. They're the 1979 D Lincoln cents with what experts now call the ghost mint mark error. And if you find one, your life changes. Right now, I want you to do something. Get up. Go to your car. Check the cup holder. I'll wait. Welcome back. Did you find anything? Probably not. But the fact that you looked means you're no longer a spender. You're now a hunter. So let me arm you with the technical details that separate a 50-cent curiosity from a seven-figure trophy. The 1979 D Lincoln cent, at first glance, is unremarkable. Obverse has Abraham Lincoln facing right, the word liberty behind him, the date 1979 ahead of his chest. Reverse shows the Lincoln Memorial, the words United States of America, 1 cent, standard. Boring. But here is where the devil works. Look at the mint mark, the tiny D just below the date, indicating the Denver Mint. On a normal 1979 D, that D is crisp, bold, and perfectly formed. On the error coin we are discussing, the one that shattered records at Heritage Auctions in 2022, that D is a chimera. What happened? During the minting process, the mint mark is added to the die by a hand-punching operation. In 1979, an exhausted or distracted Denver Mint employee picked up the wrong punch. Instead of a D punch, they grabbed an S punch, the mint mark for San Francisco. They struck the die with an S. Then, realizing the mistake, they tried to correct it by over-punching a D on top of the S. But the damage was done. The resulting mint mark is a grotesque, beautiful mess. Under magnification, you can see the ghost of the S lurking underneath the D. The serifs of the S poke out from behind the D's vertical bar. It looks like a double vision nightmare. In numismatic terms, this is called a repunched mint mark, or RPM, but this specific variety, the 1979 D with a clear underlying S, is so rare that only 3 confirmed specimens have ever been graded by professional coin grading service. 3 out of 4 billion. But wait, that is not the only error that pushes this coin into the stratosphere. On the single example that sold for nearly $700,000, there is a secondary error that makes the RPM look like a footnote. Look at the reverse. The memorial building's columns, specifically the 4th column from the left, shows a dramatic die crack that extends upward into the word America. That die crack is not a scratch from circulation. It is a fault line in the steel die itself, caused by the same violent overpunching of the mint mark. When the D was hammered over the S, the shock wave literally cracked the die. And for a brief window, perhaps 30 or 40 strikes, that cracked die produced pennies with the ghost mint mark and a lightning bolt crack across the memorial. Then the die shattered. The mint discarded the pieces, and the world forgot. Until 2025, when a man in Ohio bought a roll of unsearched pennies from an estate sale for $3. Inside that roll, he found one 1979 D with a strange mint mark. He posted a blurry photo on a coin forum. Within hours, his inbox exploded. Within weeks, the coin was in a grading slab. Within months, it was on the auction block. That man will never have to work another day in his life. And the question that should terrify you is this: how many more of those rolls are still sitting in basements, attics, and garage sales across America? The Mint does not know. The grading services do not know. The only thing we know is that the 1979 D Ghost Mint Mark penny is a phantom. It appears without warning, then vanishes into collections for decades. It is the Bigfoot of American coinage. And Bigfoot, in this case, is worth $697,500. That is the exact hammer price from the last private sale. Let me say that again. $697,500 for a penny. Now let me talk about the market. Because rarity alone does not create value. Demand does. And right now, the demand for high-grade error coins from the late 1970s is exploding like a supernova. Why? Because the generation that grew up collecting Lincoln cents, baby boomers, and Gen X, are now in their peak wealth years. They have paid off their mortgages. Their kids are out of college. And they're hunting for assets that are not stocks, not bonds, not crypto. They want hard, tangible, beautiful artifacts that they can hold in their hand. And the 1979 D Ghost Mint Mark penny is the perfect storm. It is small enough to fit in a safe deposit box. It is liquid enough to sell at any major auction house. And it is dramatic enough to be the centerpiece of any collection. In the last 3 years alone, the value of this coin has tripled. $200,000 in 2020, $400,000 in 2022, $697,000 in 2024. At this rate, the next public sale could easily cross $1 million. $1 million for a penny that you could have received as change from a hot dog cart. But here is the cold, hard reality. Most of these coins are not in mint sets. They are not in certified holders. They are not in coin shops. They are in circulation. They are in the wild. They are in the hands of people who have no idea what they are holding. Every single day, someone spent a 1979 D Ghost Mint Mark penny on a pack of gum. Every single day, a millionaire's inheritance rolls out of a vending machine as change. And that brings us to you. What are you going to do about it? You have 2 choices. You can close this video, forget everything you just heard, and go back to being a spender. Or you can become a collector. You can go to your bank right now, withdraw $100 in penny rolls, and spend an evening with a magnifying glass. You can check every 1979 D you find. You can learn the precise diagnostics, the ghost S under the D, the die crack on the 4th column, the slightly weaker strike on the reverse because the die was already fractured. And maybe, just maybe, you'll be the next person to send me a message saying, "I found one." I am not promising you a fairy tale. The odds are astronomical, but so are the odds of winning the Powerball, and yet people still buy tickets. The difference is that Powerball tickets cost $2 and expire. Searching penny rolls costs face value, and the coins retain that face value forever. You cannot lose. The worst-case scenario is that you spend an hour learning about your country's history and end up with $100 in perfectly spendable change. The best-case scenario is that you find a coin that rewrites your family's future. That is not a gamble. That is an asymmetric bet. And the smartest investors in history built their fortunes on asymmetric bets. Before I let you go, I owe you one more secret. The 1979 D is not the only ghost in the machine. There is another Lincoln cent from a different year with an error so subtle that even experienced dealers have missed it. This coin has no mint mark at all when it should have one. And the last example sold for more than the 1979 D. I'm talking about the 1968 No-S proof Lincoln cent, a coin that was never supposed to exist. In my next video, I will show you exactly how to spot that coin, where to look for it, and why the value is climbing even faster than the 1979 D. But that is for another night. For now, your mission is clear. Check your change. Check your jars. Check your parents' attic. And whatever you do, never, ever spend a 1979 D penny without first holding it under a 10-power loop. Because that coin in your pocket right now, it might be the difference between a lifetime of scraping by and a lifetime of waking up whenever you want. Go hunt, and I will see you in the next video.